and we are live. Welcome to my autumn series, There's Beauty in Change. This series is a series of conversations with women who've experienced change and the beauty that they've experienced out of this change. This series, every Thursday evening from 8 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. Ladies, these conversations are for you to encourage you, to empower, to inspire, and to enlighten you. These conversations, they started last week, October 7th, and they will run until November 25th. Ladies, I have the honor this evening to welcome Vahen King. Vahen King is with us, and welcome, Vahen King. Welcome.
Hey, I'm so glad to be with you again in the space.
Awesome. And so, ladies, I hope you have a hot drink with you, whether it's a cup of tea, hot chocolate, pumpkin spice latte, whatever it might be, because we're in for a great conversation this evening. Vienne, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My
And
pleasure.
awesome. And so, Vienne, before we dive into the change that you've experienced, can you tell the audience a few things about who Vienne King is?
That's a wide open question. It's like, how do I dive into this one? Well, first of all, I want to tell you something that maybe people don't know about me, that I am from a small town, Newfoundland. Small town in Newfoundland. Grew up there. But I was a small town girl with big dreams of going farther. And I never ever thought it was possible, but that was my dream. And another part about me is that people see me as courageous, and I am courageous, yes, but not because I don't have fear. Let me tell you, I am courageous because I don't let fear control me. That
Amen.
is something that I want people to know about me. And as a result of not letting the fear control me, Aisha, I'm an author, a speaker, and a founder. I run a nonprofit organization called Going Farther. And these two books that I've published since 2016, Going Farther, and my latest book, Contagious Courage. So that has been an accomplishment that I've dug out with some blood, sweat, and tears. But also the first ever Miss Wheelchair Canada and Miss Kindness World. I have a title of Reverend.
You are a busy lady living with purpose, and this is awesome. So, ladies, we're in for a treat to hear more of Vienne King and who she is becoming and the change that she's experienced. But not only that, the beauty out of the change. So, Vienne, before you even tell us what the change is that you've experienced, what is the background story behind the change? Just so we have context.
The background story behind my change is because I want to talk about my change of becoming a person with a disability, right? That is what I'm going to share with you tonight. And I loved the Lord with all my heart. I've always wanted to serve Him and do some great things. And that led me to want to go to Bible college, and I graduated Bible college, thinking that I was going to go and be in ministry. I met the love of my life, and we got engaged. And then a week after our engagement was when I found myself in the hospital, faced with one of the biggest challenges that I would have ever faced. I woke up in the morning, getting ready and excited to show friends and family, my engagement ring. And next thing you know, I'm rushed to the hospital, literally fighting for my life. Within 12 hours, I was paralyzed from the chest down. And the doctor said, okay, Vienne, after I don't know how many weeks of tests went by, they didn't know what was wrong with me. They said, Vienne, you have transverse myelitis, and you're going to need full-time care forever. They never had any hopes of me walking again or even being independent. And so it was all happening so fast. But, it was about a week or so, like in the process of all this happening, I'm like, wait a minute, I just got engaged. And I just knew that I had to ask him if he still wanted the ring, right? Because this is a game changer. As far as I knew, like the doctors don't even give me a very good hope for my future. And I asked him and I said, honey, we haven't barely told anybody yet. Did you want to take the ring back? Because this is a lot. And he said, Vian, I mean, there's a backstory to his story as well, and even the process and who spoke into his life, and some was good, some was not good. And, but he came to the point where he's like, this was the woman that I said I wanted to spend my life with. And he said to me, he said, God gave you to me, and we're in this for the long haul. So, you're not getting rid of me that easy, God gave you to me and I'm not giving you back. And that was just the beginning of so much more change, but that was
Wow.
the biggest change. Yeah.
Before you continue, ladies, I mean, that's just the background story of Vianne's life and the change that was to come due to the diagnosis that she received from the doctors. And so in life, change can come like that. It can come suddenly. And then thank God for the support of her fiance who said, yes, you know what, I'm going to continue to walk this journey with you. So let's think about and let's give thanks for those who walk the journey with us when times are hard,
Mm-hmm.
when we think, how are we going to go the next step? Let's give thanks to the Lord for the people who support us, who surround us, who lift us up. When we are tired or weary, when we need that word of encouragement, let's have a heart of gratitude. So, Vienne, thank you for the background story because
Yeah.
when we experience change in our lives, and sometimes people may see the actual change, they don't know what led up to it. They don't know the decisions that one had to make, prior to the change, etc. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. And so if you can, Vienne, can you lead into the change as you are talking about?
Yeah. Like, okay. So like the major change, I had like a life altering virus, right?
Yes.
Then I'm faced with, um, can I even take care of myself? How do I adapt as a person with a disability? Yes, my husband stayed, but man, I'm telling you, the changes that I've had to face with barriers here, barriers there, that just stacked up in my insecurities that led to even more insecurities. And I started to see that like I was so broken. I was so like insecure. I didn't want anyone to see me in the chair, right? I didn't want anybody to see um, my brokenness. And at the end of the day, I started to like push people away, telling people I'm fine and I'm not, telling people I'm fine and I'm not. Like Aisha, I would come home every day, cry myself to sleep
Hmm.
every night, crawl into bed, cry myself to sleep every night. And like, yet I didn't know how to ask for help. I mean, my husband, he stayed, but we didn't even know how to communicate. Like we didn't
Mhm.
understand, we didn't understand this is like we didn't have a guidebook for this. Like,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
didn't know how to handle this. And,
Mhm.
I would cry a lot and he couldn't understand the tears. He was thinking that like tears were a sign of weakness and he was trying to comfort me, saying, stop crying. And that's just the beginning, right?
Yes.
But it led to this separation between us where
Okay.
like I just like, you know what? Well, what's the point in talking
Yeah.
about things that we can't come to terms with? And,
Mhm.
that just led me down a path of brokenness. And as well as I do, if you're in a relationship and that relationship starts to get pulled apart, you're going to look for anything to fill a void that you're trying to
Mhm.
get. And if you're not getting it from God and you're not getting it from your husband,
Mhm.
that void will be filled with other things. And that's what I did. And to make a long story short, because it's only a half an hour show, um, I actually had a miscarriage. That was another thing that we thought it was going to bring us together. It only caused more separation to the point where I'm like, it's over. And that's all in my book. And I would love for you to kind of read a little bit more on that story. But that's the short version. And I'm like, finally, it's over. And I'm seeing somebody else.
Mm.
And I thought, it's one thing for him to stay, this girl in a wheelchair, he stayed, and then you're the dirtbag who cheats, right? But it was so much more than that. He literally loved me where I was, and he showed me a side of Jesus, a side of love and what it truly means to be Jesus with skin on that I've never understood before in my whole life. And I was born and raised in the church, and I never really understood this unconditional love for myself. I would extend it to others, but for me, this is not the woman that he signed up. And yet again, I'm like, I'm pushing him away, and he's still saying, no, I'm going to bring you closer.
Mhm.
And I know it sounds romantic to say, and I know you alluded to it, what the enemy means for evil, God will turn in for good. And like people see this end story of the triumphant, he stayed, Vienne got her life back together, and now she's like this author and traveling the world. But there's this process
Yeah.
that, yeah, truthfully, as a result of the worst things in my life
Mhm.
that nearly destroyed me, it
Mhm.
forced my faith out. It
Mhm.
forced me to dig deep with the Lord like I've never ever thought I could be.
Mhm.
And it's almost like those one thing that you can't really truly explain until you've been there. And I know that maybe even people watching them right now, like, we're in a pandemic, we're in these awful situations, and how can anything good
Mhm.
come out of this? I'm telling you, I've been the same way. I had this secret life, this second life that I was a part of that, like, I didn't think I could get rid of. And it was just like this addiction. And like, in trying to come back to my husband and walk. Lady, do you want to talk about a painful process?
Mhm.
Try restoration with your husband after infidelity. Like, God
Mhm.
will take what's bad, my indiscretions, my poor choices. He didn't make this happen to me. I made those choices as a result of my pain. But
Yes.
how we deal with people, how we love people in and through their pain is what brings the beauty
Yes.
about, right?
Yeah.
And so as I received Vaughn's love and literally came to the end of myself to receive God's love, because if I didn't love myself,
Mhm.
it didn't matter if Vaughn did. It didn't matter
Mhm.
if anybody else did. I
Mhm.
needed to love him for myself. And so, God, I'm like, take it. Take everything I've done, this worthless, broken vessel, and take it. And if you
Mhm.
can do anything with it, then do it. I can work with that. And he started,
Amen.
and the more that I allowed him to weed out bitterness, pride, anger, need for control, get that painful process is grueling.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put a pause there before you
Yeah,
continue talking about the
yeah, yeah.
process, Vian. Ladies, Vian just shared a whole lot, and a couple of points that I wanted to just point out is that with what she was going through, the process, it forced her faith out. And in life, we may go through situations where our faith is forced out, where our faith is
Mhm.
tested, where what we read in the Bible, having to stand on the promises and really seeing is what God says, is it true? And having
Mhm.
to believe in a God that we don't see but know he is real. And so
Yeah.
Vian talked about that. Vian talked about being broken. And ladies, how many of you may have been broken, are broken, or know somebody who is? And as Vian was saying, she was pushing people away due to her brokenness. They wanted to help, but she didn't know how to ask for it. And ladies, there may be times where you're not sure how to ask for help because of the pain that you have gone through or are going through, or the brokenness that is not completely healed in your life. And so let's
Mhm.
continue to listen to VN, because as she said, it's a grueling process, but we're seeing something come out of it. We're seeing something come out of it. So as you are saying, Vian, in terms of the
The
Lord
beauty
is
that God does.
chipping,
Yeah.
yeah.
chipping away. If you don't know the passage in Luke 8 about the seeds and the way that your heart should be and how it is ripe for planting those seeds, that God can get in there and grow the good fruit and all that kind of stuff, that's a really great chapter to dwell on. But if I was going to sum up my journey in a nutshell, I mean, there's lots of great stories in the Bible. I think of Joseph. Joseph, he was sold into slavery. He, like, literally, his brothers wanted to kill him and dot, 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 right? And falsely accused and all this stuff. But he learned what he needed to learn in prison to be Pharaoh's right-hand man. And all those things that happened to him along the way prepared him to be what he needed to be, not only to advance him, but the beauty, the true beauty of that life of Joseph is that even the people that tried to kill him, his family, he had the opportunity to then turn that around, make his position to help his family and save his family. And so I think the beauty of the way that my life has been broken or things that have happened to me, God has gifted me with the opportunity now not to be bitter, not to blame or stop the blame or blame God, but allow him to use my life, that if it could help just one other person, then that is the true beauty of what we have at our possession. And the more beautiful that a life, I mean, we have a lot of reasons that, we could choose to hate or, be bitter and angry about.
Yes.
But choosing love,
Yes.
what's more beautiful than a life with every reason to hate and be angry? Chooses love, forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Not only beautiful, and in addition to being beautiful, it's also powerful, right?
So powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and maybe you've already shared this, but what, and probably you did, but what are two things you learned about this change? And I know you've talked about different things just in everything that you've shared, but if you can highlight two things that you
Oh,
have
wow.
learned about this change, Vian.
Oh my goodness. So many.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the bigger my mess, the more God has an opportunity to wow me, or like that. Every opposition I faced is an opportunity for God to show up and do something even bigger.
Amen.
Like that, and that all these weaknesses that I have is actually a blessing to give him glory. If I was good at everything, or if I had it like all together all the time, like, first of all, no one would want to hear me. No one would want to hear anything that I had to say unless I had walked through the trenches or been through some things, right? And so but the most beautiful thing is that no matter what, Aisha, I can have. COVID can't take my peace. COVID has attempted to take my peace. COVID can't take my joy. The government can't take my joy, my peace. No one can take my peace. And I love that because of what I've been through, I have undeniable peace, defiant joy, that in the face of adversity, that I will dig deeper to the Lord, and that dependency on him gives me confidence that I'll not lose it. Because look around. There's all kinds of reason, right?
To lose your peace,
so,
right?
Yeah. And so the biggest thing that I've learned is that I can have peace, joy, and this courage no matter what. And it's not it's not absence of struggle. It's in spite of the struggle.
Right. Exactly. Ladies, I hope you are listening to what Vian is saying in terms of peace, joy, courage. And as she's saying, and it's not in the absence of struggle, it's not in the absence of difficulty or trial, but through it, she can have God's peace and joy and courage. And Vian mentioned her two books. One, I believe it's called Going Farther, right? And then the second one, Contagious Courage. And so before at at the end, I will have Vian share where you can purchase a
Mhm.
copy, so that you can encourage yourself or even encourage somebody who is going through hard times at this present moment. Vian, with all of that grueling process you were talking about, um, what support was useful to you
Mm.
during that time, Vian? Because support is important.
Oh.
We
Mhm.
need it. We can't go through journeys alone. So, can you talk to us about the support?
Yes, yes. Well, my husband, first of all, because have you ever seen like a baby seal or an animal caught in a net, right? They're trying to get free and they don't know how to get free and they're all bound up with this like stuff. And I actually saw a video that went viral one time, and the rescuer, this the police or whoever it was coming to rescue this little seal, the rope was so tight that it was actually starting to bleed, and the seal
Mm,
didn't know that it was being rescued.
yes.
Right. And so the person that was coming to rescue would actually get like bitten or like yelled back at or whatever. And
Right.
but he stuck it out
Mm-hmm.
to get that little seal free.
Mm-hmm.
That was me.
Mm.
My husband hung on to me while he suffered a few knocks and blows from my brokenness. But
Wow.
but he hung on to me, and was that was truly the beginning. Then, because of his love, unconditional love, and loving me where I was at without judgment, like he never once threw to my face anything that I've been through, right?
Amen. Yeah.
And so coming and experiencing that kind of love was unbelievable. Like less, we could talk for days on the power of praying parents, right? Because I'm telling you what, I don't know how many times I've hung up on my parents and through that whole process. I'm not in church. I'm not in church, or I'm not, like I just stopped, I just didn't care anymore. But, mom would always say, I love you. God's favor is on you. And I'm like, yeah, like, or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
But the power of praying parents to also love me where I was at,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, and, and
Wow.
and just people for reasons and seasons, little seeds that were dropped, that somebody would say something, or yeah, so strong support to have people love you where you're at. Now I could talk a whole half an hour on the reverse of that, of the people that say things when they're trying to help that they're not, but we're talking about how people support
Yes,
me. So, but yeah,
exactly.
but just loving people where they're at. And that's and then eventually my returning to faith was then
Mm-hmm.
when I couldn't breathe for myself. My husband breathed for myself, like having someone else. But then when I was able to, that wasn't going to carry me,
Yeah.
right? That was enough, but it wasn't going to carry me. And so my faith then,
Mm-hmm.
that support that I made Jesus my muster point. Look up that chapter in my book, guys. What's your muster point? Because where you run to for comfort and safety, if it's not the Lord, will leave you empty
Wow.
and frustrated, or worse.
Thank you for sharing that, Vian. Thank you. And so, ladies, as Vian was sharing the support that she had, I love the analogy that she used with the baby seal. Just even though it was being rescued and it didn't realize that it was fighting. And that's what Vian said she was doing with her husband, but he continued
Mhm.
to rescue her and to love her unconditionally. And that's what Jesus does with us when we may be going another direction. He may be calling us and we're not going the way that he wants us to. He pursues us, his love pursues us. And so I don't know who I'm talking to this evening who may be going in a different direction, not wanting to be rescued at this time. Or as Vienne was saying, her parents were calling her and she didn't want to hear it. And some of you may not be wanting to hear the advice or the wisdom of those who are trying to speak into your life. um, just realize that they love you
Mhm.
unconditionally, that God
Yep.
loves you
Yep.
unconditionally, and he wants to see you rescued. He
Yeah.
wants to see you rescued.
Yeah.
And breathing on your own, as Vienna is saying, and faith in Jesus is what can enable us to breathe on our own and not gasping for air.
Mm.
Vienne, for someone who is experiencing change, whether it's something similar to you, it could be a different type of change, and is having a hard time because you mentioned that you had a very hard time. That process was far from being easy. You cried many nights and so forth. What advice would you give to that lady who
Mm.
who is having a hard time with change?
You know, Aisha, at the end of the day, words are words, right? And like when someone is hurting,
Mm-hmm.
like all I can say is that I pray that today is the day that you feel worthy or that you
Mm-hmm.
feel loved. And if you're in a dangerous or a bad or a really hopeless situation, I don't know what it will be for you. I don't know what it's going to take for you. But I do know that no matter what it is, God can come in and sit beside you in that. And it's like, you know what? It could be an addiction. It could be something that you feel that, oh, if I'm that bad person, God doesn't want to sit with me or God doesn't want me near, or, no. Allow God to sit with you in that brokenness. And it doesn't even matter if you're serving the Lord or if you are. If you say, talk to him, because people want to, we're broken, we push people away because we don't feel worthy. So I don't know what it is, but I know that you start communicating. I don't know if there's anybody, probably, that I've yelled at God a lot. And if there's anybody that, like, you're not going to offend God with your very real emotion to some very real pain, right? And so whatever you need to get out, he already knows what's in here. Tell him, God, this is not okay. Like, this is not good. This is not okay. We don't have to like it. Yeah, there's beauty in change, but right now things ain't changing. So you need to be okay with not being okay. And
Mm-hmm.
like, just say, God, this. But then he's like, oh, he or she's talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now we've got something to work with. So just begin. And it might be as simple as like, God, I'm not really happy with the way you're handling this situation right now. I can talk to God like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm still here and I did many times. But anyway, it's grueling. And that process, where to begin, is literally just saying, I surrender, asking God to come in where you are and say, could you just give me peace? This
Mm-hmm.
situation might not be gone, but I need some peace right now.
These are some great points, ladies, that Vian has just shared with us in terms of advice. If you're experiencing change and having a hard time dealing with it, allowing Jesus to sit with you in the brokenness, expressing your raw emotion to the Lord and letting Him know how you feel. Um, Being able to acknowledge the fact that it's okay to not be okay. Sometimes, as Bien was saying at the beginning, she would say she's fine, but she's not fine. And how many
Mhm.
times when people ask us, how are you? And we say, oh, I'm fine. And you know that you're not, and so we need to acknowledge and to realize, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not okay,
Yeah.
and be able to communicate that, right? And another important point that Bien made is to know that you are worthy and you are loved. We've
Mhm.
all made mistakes
Oh, yes.
um, over and over again, but you know what? That doesn't take away our worthiness, and God
Oh,
still loves us. He does not love us less. God still loves us. He loves you, and as Vian mentioned, you are worthy. And it's not for any possession that you hold, no title that you hold, no possession that you've acquired. It's not about that, but God, He sees you as worthy.
yeah.
Bien, is there any last words that you want to share? This time has been so powerful. You've been so transparent in sharing your journey, and it's been very empowering. But
Mm.
unfortunately, we have to wrap up. So, any last words that you just want to just share with the ladies before we say goodbye to them?
Wow. Well, there's a million things going through my head. But you know what? there's this scripture, and I could have thought about any number of things, and this is the scripture that just comes to mind right now, is trust in the Lord with all of your heart. Because if we got to lean on our own understanding of what's going on out here, trust in the Lord with all your heart. And don't lean on your own understanding, but in everything by prayer, give your request to God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and He will direct you.
Mm-hmm.
He will direct you. I promise you. When I grew up praying. I knew what I was to pray, but I did not know how to listen. I didn't realize that it wasn't that God actually wanted to talk to me too.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're done talking, allow God to speak into your heart. Ask those tough questions, but be willing to sit and listen to what He wants to speak into that situation in your life, so that what you can trust Him.
That's so powerful. I received that. Thank you, Vian, for sharing that scripture verse. And ladies, that verse is in Proverbs, which is in the Old Testament, chapter 3 and verse 5 and verse 6. And so meditate on that. The listening part, it's easy to talk, but in terms of listening, it is harder, but it's something that it's beneficial to listen, especially from God. His words never return to him void. And so
Nope.
whatever he says, it will accomplish the purpose for which he has sent it. And that's
Yeah.
found in Isaiah, I believe it's chapter 55. And so, Vian, can you just tell us, the ladies may want to know where they can get your books. Can you tell them, please?
Yes. Well, I mean, it's on Amazon and all the rest, but if you go to my website, goingfarther.org, and maybe Aisha will have the link in the description, you'll have in my books link, you'll find out where to find my books. I also have like a free course, like an introductory course to contagious courage, where I just did, just do a little overview of what's in here. But just newly released this month is my audiobook and a video book. And so for the month of October, I have a 50% discount. So you'll find all of that when you go to my website, goingfarther.org. And the course video, the whole book is in video format. So if you want it for your small groups or whatnot, and a downloadable workbook. So yeah, that's all. You can find all that information on goingfarther.org, and reach out to me. I'm on social media, follow me there if you, want to continue keeping the inspiration going, or just, you want to direct somebody to say, hey, listen, let's spread some hope together.
Awesome. Vahen King, thank you for being on my autumn series, There's Beauty in Change.
My
This has
pleasure.
been a very empowering and inspiring conversation. And ladies, I believe that you received some valuable nuggets for yourself and maybe for a friend. Vahen, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey. Honestly, it for me, it has been a humongous blessing. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And as always, it's a pleasure, and the blessings are very mutual.
Awesome, awesome. And so before we tune off, I just want to let you know next week
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I want to be nosy. Who we having next week?
on October the 21st, we have our next guest, Dawn Bergman, who will be speaking about alopecia, which is a medical term for hair loss. So, another powerful conversation. And so, stay tuned for that same time. And if you're interested in the Bring It to Light Women's Conference online this Saturday, October 16th, please go to Eventbrite and look up the Bring It to Light Conference and register today. Remember to subscribe to Rise with Hope. This YouTube channel is just for you ladies to empower, to inspire, to encourage, and to enlighten on this journey called life. Ladies, have a good night. Bye.